We're Second Foundation Music. I'm Bradley, the production director.
And I'm Daryl, the creative director.
I'm Rhiannon, senior producer.
And I'm Elliot, producer.
What made you start the label?
Well, I've been writing for another production music label, and the opportunities available were relatively few because there were so many composers. There wasn't very much money for spending on recordings, and I just started working with Bradley, so we had a long discussion about it and decided that perhaps the best thing was to start our own label where we could be in control of all creative decisions.
How long ago did you start the label?
Well, we first thought about it almost 10 years ago, and we released our first albums, I think it was 8.5 years ago.
What was that like, recording the first 8 albums?
It was very busy, but it was all in the pre-planning. There's no way we'd have got through so many sessions back to back with all the post-production that goes into it. At the time, I was known more as an electronic writer, and my sort of orchestral music hadn't really been out in the world, so it's been nice over the years to sort of branch out from that and express my orchestral voice slightly more, which is something I've always loved writing in, and having the opportunity to do that through 2FM and through Daryl's tuition has been brilliant.
Don't blame me for your orchestral writing.
So any mistakes, blame the teacher.
Yeah.
So when you were starting out with 2FM, what were your core principles, and do you think that the label has stuck to them over the years?
So fundamentally, we've always wanted to be the label that represents live music, and it's been something that we've really wanted to revitalise in the industry, is using live musicians. So every single album we've done has featured live musicians, be it a small quartet or even as little as a grand piano and a cello, up to full symphony orchestras with electronics, with drummers all over the world. It's been quite an evolution.
Yeah, and part of the thing is that I've spent my whole career working with live musicians, and to me doing anything else would be a backward step. I enjoy performing, I enjoy writing and working with people, so for me, if I wasn't working with live musicians, there wouldn't really be much point in me writing, because that's what I do.
Fundamentally, we just always want to keep the human element in music. I think that's where a lot of the emotion lies.
What are the benefits of using live musicians for library music in particular?
I think one of the most important things to remember is that when you're working with musicians, every one of them is giving a mini performance. You can write the most simple chord, and simply because you've recorded it with let's say a string section, it lives, it has some kind of life to it. For library music in particular, you don't want to be grabbing attention all the time. However, you don't want something which is static. So by having these almost like mini performances going on continually through your track, it means it can support a picture but doesn't necessarily grab the attention.
Yeah, definitely. And I think often with the kind of applications where library music ends up, you're telling human stories, if it's documentaries, news, reality TV, and obviously it's not cheap recording live, but it means that clients, if they use our music, can then get this really, really high quality live performance at a production music costs, which I think is really, really beneficial for them as well.
Yeah,
definitely.
Bradley, could you tell us a bit about the production elements that we use on the label to make our music as useful as possible?
Absolutely. Since the inception of the label, we have always wanted to use stems. From our work in films, we know just how useful stems are to productions, to create alternative versions, or even just to mix it around dialogue and just still keep the scene alive. So every single album we've done has come in stems. Whenever we've got strings and or piano and, there's always that option. We'll collaborate with the composer and make sure we actually have music specifically written for a 30 or a 60 or an underscore, all sorts of different versions. We've always wanted to have the thought before the recording sessions, like it's specially composed.
Do you have a favourite album in the catalogue?
Yeah.
Yeah? Would you like to share your favourite album?
What was the one with Sea Storm on it? And it has... What was the woodwind part?
That's well,
You thinking there was one that was
No,
more
I don't
like
think it's that. I think it's a bit more... It's like Sea Storm. Some of the sports music that we've written quite recently, and frankly some of the ones on 100 I really enjoyed writing, and some really huge orchestral music.
So Elliot, do you have any particular favourite albums from the catalogue?
I do like Soft Piano Moods, which I hope doesn't mean too much because it was the last album before I joined 2FM. Also, Poignant Cinematic Reflections I do enjoy.
that haven't scarred you with metadata. You haven't had to listen to them too much.
Well, that might be it.
Daryl, do you have a favourite album or track of which you're most proud?
I don't know about most proud, but I think one of the relatively early ones, which was family film scoring, was probably one I had the most fun on. Another one was perhaps Pits and Glitz, mainly because I got to play the slide whistle very badly on it, so it was good fun. Whether it was a good album, it's not really for me to say. So Rhiannon, I know you don't like to play favourites, but do you have any albums which you particularly enjoyed working on?
I really enjoyed Drama and Raga, written by Tanuj. It was quite an early album for me when I came into the label. I just really enjoyed the international aspect of it, how, we had recording sessions going on different continents, and the improvisationary aspect of it, and how it all just came together. I just thought it was really special.
Was the company what you thought it was going to be? And if not, what did you think it was going to be?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, my first experience with 2FM was doing Metadata. I remember listening to, I think it was one of Bradley and Seb's early albums. That was one of the first things I listened to, and I just thought, oh, this is really amazing. What a wonderful world to be joining. So I wonder what Elliot thinks about his early experiences of working for 2FM.
I think I've had quite a lucky experience to cover quite a couple of different parts of what we do. So I've done similar to you, a lot of the metadata, and then some of the cut downs, which I would say is also really useful for sessions.
And what's been the most fun session that you've worked on?
I did enjoy string impressions, the whole process of that really. The recording sessions for that were quite textural. There was a lot of loops that were layered on top of each other, so it wasn't really until quite close to the finished product that we heard what it would really sound like. I think that was a really satisfying part of the experience.
Some of my favourite sessions have been the quartet sessions, actually, especially when I've had the chance to be filming and you're in the room with them. I really enjoyed as well, early on we did Cyclic Underscores, and it was a completely in-house album and we all played on it, and I thought that was really just good fun.
I also can't forget, I did enjoy contributing my expert trombone glisses on Quirky Characters.
That was a very memorable session, absolutely. How does it feel to reach the 100th album?
Well, when we started, it seemed almost an impossible task. I thought, 100 albums seemed a long way away. But now that we're here, it feels like hardly any time at all, and we've still got so much we want to do. So it's actually really exciting to have got 100 albums under our belt.
Thanks so much for chatting today, and here's to the next 100 albums.
Oh my goodness, thanks! This is ridiculous!
Did you get the question?
More or less.
Which is your favourite Power Ranger? Mine's blue.
Oh, sorry, wait.
Well, that was my good ear.
Feel the hair-raising experience, but
I'd be grateful for a hair-raising experience. I've lost it over the last 10 years.
or an ensemble that they wouldn't ordinarily get the chance to do themselves. Corpus.
Daryl, apart from...
I was like sitting.
You look like
Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Better than before?
I wish I never asked.
That answers questions I didn't know I had.